DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
Hey folks, welcome to the show. Glad you joined us today. We're going to have a great episode. We have Dr. Patrick Gunn, who's the cow-calf extension specialist at Iowa State University. He's a ruminant nutritionist. We're going to talk about something that is probably one of the most economically driven things that you need to do for your cow herd, which is testing your hay. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Dr. Patrick Gunn.
My name's Karen Cope and I have multiple sclerosis. When you have MS, on the outside you look great, but you know what's really going on in the inside is chronic body pain, chronic fatigue. And there's lots of days that I'd wake up and say, oh, please God, help me get through this day. You know, after stem cells, Chloe, my youngest daughter, she was asked by my father-in-law, how's your mom doing? And Chloe said, Grandpa, I've never had a mom like this before. Because she was 8 when I was diagnosed, and she really had no other memory of me but being sick. It's really the simple things that we do as a family, like play cards and to be able to win at cards. You know, they all laugh because I used to repeat myself and say, what hand are we on? You know, where are we at? And it's just been really a true blessing from God, and we're really thankful.
Kim Mannering with Hearty Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if you're held liable in any type of accident, the judgment can claim your assets? Please give me a call so we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Closed captioning brought to you by Vet Gun with Amel and new AMA Abamectin Vet Caps, the 1-2 punch against horn fly resistance from AgriLabs.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Folks, welcome to DocTalk. Dr. Gunn, welcome to DocTalk.
Thanks for having me.
Folks, this is Dr. Patrick Gunn, and he is the Extension Cow-Calf Specialist here for Iowa State University in the Department of Animal Science. Cover the state. I know that you cover a lot more than just the state. You do a lot across our country in cow-calf nutrition and an expert in cow-calf nutrition, folks. You know, today we're going to talk about hay testing.
Yep, absolutely. Well, obviously, I think one of the biggest things that a lot of producers overlook, particularly right now when we're in this period of tight margins, is we start looking for ways to cut costs. And I think, you know, philosophically, you know, for me, one of the worst ways we can go about cutting costs is not testing our forage in the first place. Because if we're not testing our forage, any supplementation scheme that we've got going on is a complete guess. So if we're under supplementing, we're probably losing production in some way, shape, or form. If we're over supplementing, obviously we're wasting money. So, you know, as we talk about forage testing in general, I think it's a greatly underutilized process on most operations, and most of all, I think it's probably one of the best return on investments we can have for any given operation.
Yeah, and you know, I see that all the time. You know, just like what you're saying, we're sitting there going, oh, we're gonna step over dollars to pick up a dime, and when we're not testing our hay, you know, you start to think about under supplementing if we'd have a harsh winter, and body condition score on our cows, and then breed back potential. It's just, it could be economically a wreck by something as simple as hay test.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even beyond body condition score and breed back, I mean, there's been tons of research done, some of it by Kansas State in the late 70s up into the mid 90s that looks at body condition score and late gestation nutrition, how it affects not only breed back, not only general body condition score, but quality of colostrum, amount of colostrum, long-term health of those calves. So, you know, it's really imperative that we make sure that that nutritional status is correct all the way through late gestation, clear through lactation.
Right. So now, after you get hay in, I mean, is there any time period that you need to wait till after you put up hay, or can you just, if hay comes in and it's put up, I can start testing immediately on when it's coming in and on arrival?
Well, if it's really dry, if it's 90% dry matter, you can probably get by with testing it right away. Typically, we say test it as close to the time of feeding as possible. That allows you to still make your rations and supplements as need be. But when you bring that hay in, even if it's 80-85% dry matter, it's going to go through a sweat a little bit, and we're going to bind up some nutrients. So the big thing is allow yourself enough time to develop your supplementation scheme, but do it as closely as you can to the time of feeding it.
Okay. Well, when some of the things that we're going to talk about today, you said, how many samples, what kind of samples to take, where to sample the bale. I think that when we think about different ways of storing it and making sure that hay quality is maintained, this is just going to be a great show.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. It's great to have you, folks. This is Dr. Patrick Gunn. He's a cow-calf extension specialist here at Iowa State University. When we come back, we're going to talk about how many samples to take, which way to take those samples, and then what you're going to do with the samples after you get them. It's a great show. Stay tuned. More from Ames, Iowa after these messages.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
I'm back for a second visit with Enzo Discoveries and doing another ultrasound lab. I greatly appreciate all the effort they put into continuing education and bringing teachers like Cooper Williams down, who's just so wonderful at teaching all the structures and how to properly use our diagnostic tools. I use the Enzo Discoveries PRP product quite frequently, and really love its ease of use and how functional it is, how quick it is to respond. I really enjoy the small tube size, the way that we can pack around a small centrifuge, use the kit on site, small, compact, easy to use, easy to carry, and how they've constructed the stepwise process in using the kit, making it so easy, and having the instructions there on the inside of the box makes it really functional. Regenerative medicine has kind of become a mainstay of practice now. We see so many degenerative injuries to soft tissues within horses, and having these regenerative modalities now to improve the healing pattern, to improve the function and quality of life of our patients. Just getting more adept, especially at cervical ultrasound, the cervical facets of the neck and the pole. That's an area where there's so many structures that crisscross, then trying to identify what structures what and which ones will actually have pathology versus what's a normal variation. And also looking through, especially the stifle. There's so many different facets to ultrasound and trying to figure out which structure is what and which direction they're going, and just also how to position the probes properly to get the proper views. Everyone can always learn how to do a different modality and how to get more adept at using the diagnostic tools we have available now.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with my friend and colleague, Dr. Patrick Gunn. We're at Iowa State University, where Dr. Gunn serves as the cow-calf extension specialist for the state of Iowa and beyond. He's a ruminant nutritionist, and we're talking about hay sampling, which is something that is just can't believe anybody that has any cows wouldn't do it, but they don't. But let's talk about how you go about it. Let's just walk through samples and tests and how you take those samples and different things of that measure.
Absolutely. As we talked before, I think it's a grossly underutilized process, but even those that utilize forage testing, I don't know that they always go about it the correct way to maximize the value associated with taking those samples. I think the biggest pitfall that we often run into with producers is quite simply they're not taking enough samples. So, maybe they test 1 or 2 bales out of a lot, or maybe even 1 or 2 bales out of everything they have for the entire winter. And so, I think first and foremost, we got to take plenty of samples. And when I say a lot, I mean that's every cutting from every field, because obviously we got different composition of forages in every field. And we're going to make multiple cuttings in most instances. So the big thing is we want to take 20 samples from every lot, so every cutting in every field if possible. Now that doesn't mean we're going to test 20 samples, we're going to make a composite sample out of those 20.
Okay.
But we need to take 20 random bales from any one field and any one cutting and put them into a single Ziploc baggie to send off for analysis.
Okay, so you go in, you take your 20 samples. Depending on the bale, is there a different type of sample? I mean, we always hear about the core sampling technique. Is that what we're going to do on this?
Yeah, we're essentially looking to get a core sample, something that's fairly representative of the entire bale. If you're looking at small square bales, typically we just set them on end lengthwise and just puncture right through that last flake of hay, so to speak. Now, the biggest thing is, I highly encourage producers to invest in some kind of hay coring probe. A lot of people do grab samples because they say that mimics what the cow's actually grabbing, but oftentimes we lose the leaves, we lose a lot of that high quality dry matter because we're just grabbing kind of the long stemmy stuff out of the bale. So highly encourage using a core sampler first and foremost, but with small squares or large squares we can just tap right into the end of the bale. If we're utilizing round bales, big thing is cut through the net wrap and then take a core sample 12 to 18 inches deep. Typically 18 is what I suggest.
Okay, so then you bring them back in these samples. Do you put all 20 of them into something and mix them up and then take a subsample of that, or do you just keep the 20?
It's completely up to what kind of probe you have and how much sample comes out in that probe. A lot of times I suggest producers put that in a bucket, mix it up, and then send off a quart bag full from that particular lot. Some samplers are set up and designed so basically over 20 samples you only actually pull a quart of material out of there. At the end of the day we want to send off about a quart's worth of material to the testing firm.
Okay, and then obviously when it gets there we have tests that you can request or
absolutely
things like that. All right. Well, folks, it's time for a break, time for commercials. Again, hay testing might be one of the most economical things you'll do for your beef herd this year. Make sure you do it. We're going to talk more with Dr. Gunn when we come back after these messages. We're on the road at Iowa State University. Stay tuned. Hey folks, Dr. Dan here. Welcome to Cattle First, as sponsored by Beringer Ingelheim Vet Medica. And the term today, biosecurity. Biosecurity is security. It's like having a bouncer that keeps pathogens out and keeps disease out of your herd. One of the best tools you can use for biosecurity is a proper vaccination program and work with your veterinarian on that. The second one is introduction of new animals. And when we bring new animals on the farm, making sure that if there's a disease that is important that we test for, that we have that done prior to bringing them on the premise. And if they haven't been, then we have a place to quarantine them until we can get the diagnostics back, I think is vitally important. Talking to your neighbors as cattle lean across the fence and communicate with each other, making sure that you have a community-wide biosecurity plan and vaccination plan, vitally important. Keep the disease out, be the bouncer.
Kansans have a new choice for Medicare supplement insurance plans. With Medicare supplement insurance plans from Kansas Farm Bureau, you have access to 4 levels of coverage, affordable rates, and service from an organization that served Kansans for more than 100 years. For more information on Kansas Farm Bureau Medicare supplement plans, including rates and to apply, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Kim Mannering with Hearty Insurance. Today we will talk about employee safety and work comp coverage. On your farm, do you ask your friends to come help? Are they considered employees or neighbors helping neighbors? Did you know that you can be held responsible just as if it's a work comp accident? Give me a call, we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
No matter where, no matter why, the Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University is committed to providing quality patient care to animals and exceptional customer service to their owners. From routine checkups to emergency and specialty care, our world-renowned specialists and experienced professionals are here to discover, to teach, and to heal.
Let us know.
How can I help?
How can we help?
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Patrick Gunn. We're at Iowa State University, and Dr. Gunn is the Extension cow-calf specialist for the state of Iowa, does a lot of work in cow-calf nutrition, production, management, and different areas. We're very thankful that he would take time out of his busy schedule during this time of the year to come and spend with us on an important topic. And Dr. Gunn, when we send a sample in to a laboratory, what are some of the tests and what are some of the things that we're going to be asking them to do?
Yeah, and it's really going to depend a lot from producer to producer what basic information we need. I think at a bare minimum, obviously we got to get our energy and we need our protein and if possible calcium and phosphorus just so we can kind of balance those macronutrients within the diet. You know, and we can go about a lot of different ways. If you have a more conventional feed stuff such as silage or hay, you know, NIR would be a perfectly acceptable way to go about testing that forage, and runs anywhere from $15 to $25 depending on the lab and how much you want to pack into it. If you have what I consider to be a less conventional feed resource like corn stover, maybe a really low quality CRP hay or something like that they don't have a lot of samples on file, we probably need to do a wet chemistry on that, which is going to be a little more costly, but I would still suggest that it's an extremely good return on investment.
So come back to me a little bit then, and let's explain to the viewers what the difference between an NIR and wet chemistry really is.
Yeah, and so NIR is really just computer automated. It's near infrared spectroscopy. Over time, we take the wet chemistry analysis that we have on multiple feed stuffs. You know, they run 10, 20,000 samples through and can calibrate the computer basically to take a snapshot of that feed resource and give us all the information we ever need on it. Unfortunately, when we're utilizing some of those less known or less widely used samples or feed resources, it's necessary to do that basic wet chemistry, kind of the traditional under the microscope on the lab bench type chemistry to get those energy and protein values, mineral values that we're looking for.
Gotcha. So feedstuffs that are common, we have a big reference lab.
Absolutely.
And so you really fine tune. It's kind of like anything. You get something in that you're not used to looking at, probably need to go back to the basics.
Yep. Absolutely.
Get that done. So you get the crude protein, you get the energy, you get the calcium, phosphorus. You know, I assume vitamin A could be one of the vitamins that we might test for if we were going to look at anything.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to start adding some bells and whistles to the analysis, vitamin A and E I think would be really imperative, particularly if we're in drought-stressed regions or we're feeding some really low-quality forages that probably don't have vitamin A and E. I think that'd be imperative. Particularly here in the Midwest, we've seen a lot of vitamin A, vitamin E deficiencies around the time of calving the last couple of years. I think that'd be a good one. You know, depending on how you put up those forages, iron analysis, any other analyses that may be antagonist to your general micronutrient, micromineral program, I think that'd be a good addition as well in many instances.
Well, it's outstanding. And now when we come back with Dr. Gunn, we're going to talk about some of those scenarios out there that maybe when your hay comes back and it tests a little low or it tests just right, how you might handle some of that, how we might combat that and move forward with your cow herd in proper production. Thanks for watching DocTalk, folks. We're going to take a break. More with Dr. Gunn after these messages.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer and work with you.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Lyons from Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center here in Manhattan, Kansas. Daryl was one of our patients that we did about 7 months ago.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it and it worked. I'm not going to go out and take trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Well, it's been very gratifying to help people with their painful joints and other entities, and it's been especially gratifying to be able to help people who I know and have worked with and known for many years.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Patrick Gunn. We're in Ames, Iowa at Iowa State University, and Dr. Gunn is the Extension cow-calf specialist and ruminant nutritionist. Does a lot of work. We're in cow-calf nutrition and production. We're talking about hay sampling. Mm-hmm. And, you know, in the winter time, folks, when we don't have grass, we don't have crop residues anymore, and we're supplementing hay and we're feeding those cows hay. You know, what happens when I get my hay test back? Mm-hmm. Now what do I do?
Good question, because I think that's one of the biggest issues. We get people to take the sample and then you got to utilize it, right? I mean, we got to put that investment to work for us. And so I think the big thing is you know, just seeking out who can help me with that. You know, whether it's your local extension agent, whether it's a nutritionist, you know, both of those individuals should be able to work with you. You know, if you like pushing the pencil to the paper and want to do some of your own supplementation schemes, that's fine too. But I think the biggest thing is we got to utilize the information that we've got at our fingertips. And, you know, first and foremost, figuring out, is that hay going to meet the requirement for those cows at a given stage of production? If not, obviously we got to come up with some kind of supplementation scheme. And, you know, since we're investing the money and it should be all about dollars and cents, you know, what's the lowest cost way to get us there to meet our demands for those cows? I think on the flip side of things, and, you know, the further northeast and maybe Midwest we get a lot of producers that actually have hay that's probably way better quality than what they need for their cow herd. And so to combat that, how do we get around that? Whether that's moving to a TMR and limit feeding, whether it's, you know, just doing night feeding or restricting access to that hay. I think the big thing is sitting down with a nutritionist or your local extension agent and developing that supplementation or that limit fed scheme that best utilizes the resources that you have available to you.
Absolutely, and you know, I think about, you know, we live in the Midwest and area, there's so many things to supplement with.
Mm-hmm.
That if you need it, there's byproduct feeds and different things that we can go out and grab that make pretty good supplements.
Absolutely.
And also, if you have something, hey, that's too good, we have some, you know, we're around a lot of grain, we're around a lot of different things where we can blend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, so I mean, whether it's your local co-products, whether it's corn, I mean, whatever's the most advantageous and most cost-effective for your operation, you know, no one supplementation scheme is going to be the same. The big thing is that we take the forage analysis, and that's the bulk of the diet, and make sure we develop the rest of the diet around there in as cost-effective manner as possible.
Perfect. Well, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Folks, thanks for watching DocTalk. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian and your local nutritionist. If you want to know more about what we do on DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. Thanks for watching the show today, folks. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson signing off from Ames, Iowa at Iowa State University, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by Vet Gun with Amel and new AMA Abamectin Vet Caps, the 1-2 punch against hornfly resistance, from AgriLabs.
For more information about this program or previous programs, go to DocTalkTV.com.
DocTalk was brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.